Shalom, Erev Tov. Very good afternoon to all. I come from India, where sharing is sacred. That's a vital part of our culture. In ancient India, the man of the house was supposed to ask the community around, is anybody hungry? Please come to my home. I'll not take my meal until I know that every man, woman, and child is fed. This was in the village life in the times of Vedas. And why only India? I guess every civilization has this kind of sacred relationship with sharing resources. But sharing that has been taught to all of us as good virtue is taking a new shape in this connected world that's called sharing economy. As the community got a new meaning after World Wide Web spread, sharing is now taking shape of redistribution and reuse of the excess resources. Collaborative consumption is one of the recent phenomena that is rapidly changing the world and the cities that we live in. In this session, we discuss potential of sharing economy and collaborative consumption. And if we could start with you, Javi, one of your theses is you're saying that citizens are becoming producers now, and how this new phenomena, this new ecosystem, how that is changing our cities that we live in.
Thank you so much. I think that the main change right now is we look at world population is really young, and it's educated, and it's connected, and it's gained new capabilities. They're not only consumers, they can become producers, they can become producers of transportation, they can become producers of lodging, they can become producers of knowledge, they can finance their own projects. There are very many projects through crowdfunding that wouldn't have been financed if people weren't able to finance themselves. They are able to create content, they're able to create places, they're able to manage places, they're able even to create commons such as Wikipedia, they're able to share property on whatever they do, be it by blockchain or other systems. So what we have is a population that's able to do more with less. And we're discovering that this is creating new abundance. It's creating absolute abundance in that what's intangible, such as knowledge or design, and relative abundance and those things that are tangible, such as lodging or transportation. We're seeing new offerings coming up. We see new frequencies in transportation coming up. We see, as you said, that sharing generates abundance. It's a new level of efficiency. And last, it tackles on new sources of trust. So trust is among strangers. You have, through social networks, enough information about other people to trust on them, and trust is on rules. You can build something on a planetary scale if you agree on the rules, as we are doing with Wikipedia.
Yeah, and you recently published a Pentagrowth report in which you analyzed 50 organizations from the collaborative economy. That includes models like Wikipedia, Spotify, and even Airbnb that Molly represents. These organizations have grown more than 50% per year, you say, in users and income during 5 years in a row. So can you please share with us what do these companies do differently?
Thank you. Very briefly, I started these 50 organizations, and I came up with this Pentagrowth model. What these organizations do differently is they connect, they take advantage of the new networks arising, so they went not adding social or mobile things up to a World Wide Web design, but they rethought themselves the same way Tinder rethought relationships rather than Match.com. They collect their inventory in a different way. They not only buy property and then rent it or give access to citizens, but they take distributed properties, such as Airbnb does, or they take open knowledge and they integrate it in their offering, so the less cost you have to build your inventory, the fastest you could grow. They empower citizens, they take advantage of all these capabilities, and by taking advantage of these new capabilities of citizens, they can grow faster because they don't have to take so much workers on their things. The fourth thing they do, they enable business partners. Instead of keeping all the value they produce, they share part of the value, such as the Apple market did, and share the market. I provide you with the tools to build applications, and I take 30%. It's a better business to take 30% on the world's creativity than 100% of whatever you can produce. Last of all, they share knowledge. They don't keep all their knowledge for themselves, but they try to put it in the open as to have a community that allows them to be resilient and that feels that whatever they're sharing belongs to them as well.
Yeah, we just spoke about trust, the most important, I guess, point in this sharing economy. So Molly, you represent B&B, Airbnb. So you have witnessed a sea change in basic concepts like mine and yours, customer and producer, partner and competitor, even value and revenue. When people open their homes to this sharing economy model. Please tell us more about this emerging metrics of new mindset of citizens where trust is being built in a different phase throughout the world.
Sure. So Airbnb has gone beyond just the early adopters. My parents now use Airbnb willingly without me forcing them to, which I think says a lot. But we've actually learned a lot about people and why they choose to use Airbnb, either as a guest, someone who's traveling, or as a host, someone who rents out their room. We survey our community a lot, and I have some interesting data to share about the mentality of our community. So as you would probably expect, travelers use Airbnb not only because it can be a more affordable option for travel, but because 91% of them tell us they want to live like a local, and Airbnb helps them do that. How does Airbnb help them do that? 79% of travelers want to explore a specific neighborhood in a city. They can live like a local because they can live in a neighborhood where there are locals. Maybe there aren't any hotels. This leads to different kinds of interactions in a city. So we've also found that Airbnb guests spend on average 2.1 times longer in a city than the typical hotel guest does. And these folks are extremely active. They do all the typical tourist stuff and all of the local stuff, which means they end up spending on average 2.1 times more than the typical hotel guest does during the stay of their trip. Conversely, with the hosts, why do people open their homes to total strangers? What motivates them to do that? Well, globally, 81% of Airbnb hosts are renting out the homes they live in. These are not wealthy people who have pied-à-terres and investment properties. These are people who are motivated to open their homes because most of them are middle and low income, and they need the extra money. So 53% of Airbnb hosts told us that they started hosting and because the income helps them afford to stay in their home. They spend it on their rent, their mortgage, their regular living expenses. But they continue hosting because they love the experience. They love bringing the world to their doors. I think this offers a lot of insights about what motivates people to participate in the sharing economy and what keeps them engaged.
And now we have Olof Zetterberg. Olof is with City of Stockholm for like 30 years. We were just discussing before that you belong to the policymakers, generation of policymakers who have been there and seen it all.
Yes, I've been nice to be here to be the old guy that's gonna tell you about the Stone Age. But I gladly do that. It's interesting because I've been on the journey for almost 35 years in different positions with the administration of the City of Stockholm. And I've seen also a lot of those very instrumental decisions been taken by the City of Stockholm that nobody actually understood at the point, and the decision maker didn't understand it either. And I think that one of the words that is going through this conference is digitalization. And in the case of Stockholm, 20 years ago, the politicians decided to have a fiber optic network in the city of Stockholm, which is one of the best in the world, I would say. But they didn't understand anything. They still, I think, those mayors now retired, don't use emails. And they thought that, okay, this was a kind of city commodity like streets or sewers or whatever. You should have fibers in the street, and then everybody can compete. But we own the fiber in the street, just as we own the streets, and everybody could go and walk and ride their bicycles on them. So that was a very interesting decision. And when you talk to them now, they are very proud, of course, those mayors who took it, but they didn't understand a single thing of what they were doing. Neither did I would say, because I'm not maybe I'm from a smart city, but I'm not so smart guy.
That we understand. But I just wanted to say more about how the city administrators or policymakers are looking at this kind of new emerging ecosystems and models like sharing economy and collaborative consumption.
Yes, we are very much in favor of what you could summarize as sharing economy, even though the definitions is very hard actually. If you tie the ribbon very long, then you could say that of course the stock exchange is sharing economy also. So we skip the definitions and we just speak about a thing that we don't know what it is actually. It's much easier, isn't it? No, but to go to, for example, Airbnb, we are much in favor of that. We're very happy that Airbnb is available in Stockholm. And I used it several times myself, and I think it's...
Good to hear.
What?
Good to hear.
Yeah, yet I haven't been renting out my own apartment because it's a mess. I can't rent it out because there are renovations going on the roof. You know, it's a mess, everything. So, but I'm going to do in the future. We are not so afraid as other cities like Barcelona about not getting this bed tax, because we don't have a bed tax on commercial bed nights on hotels. So that's nothing to be afraid of. But there is one other thing that is more essential, I think, is that in many cities they are afraid that people are buying apartments in fancy areas and then they rent it just for renting it out at Airbnb. But we are not afraid of that because we have a little slight other system in Sweden actually. The condos are associations, and your neighbors are in the board of that. So the neighbors can actually say that you're not allowed to rent it out on Airbnb. You have to have permissions from your neighbors sitting in this board. So therefore, we will never end up in the situation where people are buying apartments just to being a kind of private hotel. So we're not afraid of that. And of course, we are looking on Airbnb as doing a wonderful job because you're creating new customers to our destination. And I think maybe I heard something. The first low-cost carrier in the U.S. You used to quote that from Airbnb. Was it Southwest Airlines? Yeah. I met a guy from Airbnb said that when they target the market, was it Southwest Airlines? The first. And old Pan Am and everybody was complaining, but they say, we are targeting the people sitting in the buses, not your clients. And I think it's the same thing with Airbnb, that you are targeting people that maybe if you're going to a city with your kids and your grandchildren, you don't want to stay at a hotel. It's too complicated. You want an apartment. So I think that you create a lot of new customers to us, and that's very good. But so we are very in favor, and the organizations in Sweden for hotels, which is the same for hotels and restaurants, they are not opposing it either. So I think we are one of the most Airbnb-friendly countries and cities in the world.
You can all see Molly is smiling.
I'm not paid by her. I'm not paid by her.
This is the first time we've met. I didn't script him, I promise.
No, but Molly, I would like to ask you, Airbnb is taking a step ahead. Like you have just collaborated with City of San Francisco, and you just announced a new partnership with the San Francisco Travel Association, making San Francisco, I guess, the first city in the world to formalize a tourism partnership with Airbnb. So do you think you see the traditional and sharing tourism models like working together more and more in near future?
Absolutely. We see ourselves as very complementary to the traditional tourism industry. It's clear from the survey data I showed you, people are really looking for a very different experience when they travel on Airbnb. And, there's still plenty of reasons to stay in a hotel, and some people even stay in hotels on the same trip that they stay at Airbnb. But together with the City of San Francisco's Tourism Bureau, we've come up with a really innovative partnership to collaborate on mutual goals that we have. And we're working in 3 key areas, which are really exciting. The first is spreading tourism out of the main city center, where all the hotels are, into outer neighborhoods. San Francisco, like many cities, including Tel Aviv, is a city of neighborhoods, and each neighborhood is distinct and different and special. Yet if there aren't hotels there, nobody goes to those neighborhoods. And likewise, the businesses in those neighborhoods never receive the economic impact of what is one of the biggest industries in the world, tourism. And so we're working with them to spread the tourists into outer neighborhoods. And that's easy to do because 74% of Airbnb properties are in those neighborhoods. The second thing we're working on with them is really connecting Airbnb travelers and hosts to small businesses in those neighborhoods. How can we help support the local coffee shop, the local bakery, the gallery around the corner, the businesses that locals love but maybe are struggling to stay in business right now? Tourism spending can really help them, and so we're providing a lot of insights to neighborhood merchants associations about how to really meaningfully engage with tourist spending. And then the last and really pretty exciting area that we're partnering with them on is peak occupancy. Similar to Tel Aviv, the city of San Francisco does not have enough hotels. And we host, Apple, Salesforce, all these huge conferences year-round, but we're hosting the Super Bowl this winter. We have all of these big events, and the city simply cannot accommodate all of the attendees. And so we're working with the city on figuring out how to accommodate all of these attendees when the city completely sells out, and how to engage local residents in this. And just one last example of this, we learned this through doing it in Brazil. The World Cup in Brazil, you might all remember, they didn't build enough hotels. They were constructing hotels until the last minute. Luckily, we were in touch with the National Minister of Tourism, who 1 week before the games started gave us a phone call and said, Airbnb, we have an emergency. The host city of Cuiabá doesn't have enough rooms for everyone who's coming. Can you help us? We sent a team of 5 people to Cuiabá. In the span of a week, we doubled the number of rooms in the city. Without building a single structure, all we did was engage local residents in Brazil, in the city, to open up their homes to strangers who are coming to town.
So you're saying more and more traditional business setups, or maybe city municipalities, they're opening up their doors to concepts like Airbnb more and more?
Yes, I think once they get over perhaps the initial discomfort of, ooh, icky, strangers staying in our neighborhoods, I think they really start to understand the huge benefits that this kind of new economic activity, social activity, and might I say environmentally friendly activity can bring to their cities. And we're working with some really innovative cities to figure out creative ways that we can help meet their goals.
And Xavier, you have been saying constantly that traditional businesses can either resist or take advantage of the emerging collaborative economy. So how do you think these businesses can adapt better to these new emerging models?
The thing is, when you try to lift, you don't use the stairs anymore, except if you're in diet or you're very sportive or whatever. And as this new mode of production is so much efficient, as we're seeing, and it's capable of creating abundance, all the incumbent businesses have to adapt to it. And we're seeing lots of examples of that. We've seen, for example, how Accor Hotels, it's opening its own booking system to other hotel chains, such as to be competitive with large organizations such as Booking.com or Airbnb. We're seeing how Tesla, for example, is sharing its patents on its electrical mechanism just to create a standard on which other makers such as BMW or Nissan can share the standards and then create and fight for a market share upon a steady standard. We're seeing how businesses like Apple, when it thought of the app market, open up to others to share. What we're seeing is that commercial war is not anymore among businesses itself, it's among platforms, among standards, and you cannot rely anymore on your market share that happened to Kodak, that happened to BlackBerry, that happened to Nokia. It's about those standards, and you need coalitions, you need ecosystems to become competitive.
And Olof, do you think that cities should facilitate or thwart various types of sharing services, and why? Because you have some definitive responses to that.
Yes, of course. And Airbnb was just one example that we are trying to highlight, but also in other parts, I think one thing of the sharing economy that we haven't touched upon is different types of crowdfunding and such things that we are also promoting for new startup companies who is doing different types of crowdfunding. I'm not going into it because the time is limited, but that we could do. But then one other thing that is extremely important is that the openness of the city, of course, and we discussed this earlier yesterday, that of course that you open up your archives and your system and your digital basis for everybody to take care of, to take whatever they want from them and then develop different things. That is not sharing economy, but I think it's extremely important if you want to develop the digital economy.
And many of you must have known that Xavier is working on something very exciting. You're working on a changing mental framework of citizens. And one of the key points in your research is analyzing the new mental framework that encourages people to share their resources. Can you please give us some insight of your research, peeping into the minds of connected citizens, how things are changing exactly and why for the common person?
I think we've heard already quite a few things, and Molly has been very explicit on the motivations. If you look at the motivations of people taking part in Airbnb or people contributing to open source projects, or for example, I just come from Paris with the maker community. They're advancing the climate meeting in Paris by building 12 open source projects that can help energy and water in the world. So this young, educated, connected population is ambitious, and it's ambitious, I would say, in a healthy way. It's ambitious to get connected. It's ambitious to do something meaningful with their lives. It's ambitious in the sense they want to know places like the locals, but they want to have a sense that their lives are contributing to something. So I believe that, and someone introduced it this morning, that the values of the youngest generation are not anymore so much materialistic, but they have a sense of belonging. They have this conscience that we need to save the planet, and it's going to be among them that they're going to do it.
And do you have a vision of what our future society will look like? Because since morning, everybody's talking about digitized world and a different kind of future that we are going into. So do you have a picture of what it should be or what it would like be?
I think it's a very dangerous question, no? But what we are seeing in any way is the emergence and the explicitization of interdependence. We are realizing we're interdependent because we are connected, and even if you don't read the message, just getting the message and being connected and belonging to a group, that changes already your conscience, and we're going to a real-time interdependence. And I think that's the point where our conscious and our capacity for change will be dramatically changed.
Molly, would you like to predict something on your experience with Airbnb people?
Sure. I mean, I love hearing, Javi, how you use the word belonging so often, because Airbnb's vision is, of course, we're a technology company. We've created this amazing platform that connects people, strangers all over the world, and somehow creates trust so they can sleep in each other's homes. But what we're really about is connecting people in the real world, not online. And our goal, as naive as it may sound, but we really believe we're on the road to it, is to create a world where all 7 billion people feel like they can belong anywhere. You can show up in any city, in any neighborhood, in any person's home, and really feel a sense of belonging. No matter who you are, you can find a local, hospitable resident who's open their home and their arms and their lives to you, and you can create greater cultural understanding that way and tolerance, and hopefully that can have huge impacts on the world.
What we're seeing is that citizens are solving the problem faster than governments do. And it's not about solidarity, it's about human rights. And I think that's very interesting, because it's not just solving a problem, but taking conscious that we're all interrelated, and we have resources that if we pull together, we can do so much more than what we've been doing so far.
So you're saying citizens may become more active in the decision-making process.
Citizens are already extremely
even
active.
Political decision-making, you're saying.
In my city, in Barcelona, the mayor has been elected and doesn't belong to a political party. It's a group of citizens that have been through a consensus-building process since 2011, and have brought up a candidate for the mayor that has won the elections. And that's radically different to what we are used to, even in the political arena, where parties alternate in power.
Yeah, Molly, would you like to talk more on this?
Sure, I'd just say, I want to live in a world where people start off from a place of trust rather than skepticism, no matter where you're from or who you are. You believe in human kindness and goodness, and you can trust your fellow stranger, and that can lead to better civic participation and collaboration and opening your arms to refugees or whatever it may be. And I really do believe that some of these new technologies and economic models can facilitate that kind of human interaction across the world.
Yeah, and with this words of hope, probably, and dream, we'll just close our session because we are out of time. And I thank you all, Molly, Zetterberg, and Olof. It's an amazing experience talking with you all. Thank you so much.
You.
Thanks. It's back to you.